Armada Book 2 Chapter 3 The Listons Part 1. November 2059. After breakfast while Andrew was carrying the baby for the 11th time, Brad appeared and, Andrew, Olive asked me to report to you that the Norsets are all over the hops moving from the backup planet back to their home world. The Norset colonists are leaving the backup planet. They are being substituted by a much smaller contingent that will take their place for the next 10 years. Andrew wondered why Olive did not report herself. Brad produced a hologram of the hop system from the backup planet to planet LA to the Norset to the Bofengs. The Norsets are pulling some 100 Mort ships from the hops lines from here to the Norsets to the Bofengs. They want to extend the hop lines another 3 or so BLY from newly discovered Norset backup planet further out along this route. They believe there are some more backup planets in this area here. Well, that's good. They are asking you or Tony to deploy the hops ships like you just did towards this area. They have sent the needed Norset and Bofeng contingent for the hop outpost. The hop outposts will start arriving at the end of the line you just put up in 20 days for the ships with newly installed engines and plasma cannons, while some will be arriving until 40 days later. How many will arrive in 20 days? 45 hop outposts. How about probes? Are they sending probes as well? Yes, Andrew, they allocated 4 probes per outpost as you have deployed. They took the allocation from their own armada. Move the existing outposts further out, starting with the ones with the new and faster engines. That will cut the start time to 10 days. Have my ships escort them. Also, the allocation of the probes start from the furthest outpost to some of the outposts near the Earth galaxies, although I think some will not get the probes. Tony also wants to meet with you and the whole GX1 team. Vicky got the baby from Andrew. Why don't you go, Andrew? I can manage here. Okay, tell the team to meet at the back of the house. He went to the bedroom to get dressed casually. In a few minutes he got down, kissed Vicky and Adam, and went out to the back where the team is by now waiting for him. Hi guys, what's up? Andrew greeted the group. Boss, I never realized that your backyard is this beautiful. Look at that waterfall, a bit noisy but very pretty and calming. Roger said. And this table and long benches, in the open air, is much better to meet in the ship's mission room. Ellie added. Do any of you guys want some beer, coffee, or tea? Andrew asked. I'm good, Roger said. Tony started. I'd like to update you on the 400 hops ships you sent. Brad, can you show where they are now deployed? Brad showed the deployed hop ships and some galaxies. Rotate it so we are looking at it from the side. Tony said. So, you have deployed all of the ships? Ellie asked. Yes, Ellie, the red ones are part of the 500 and the yellow ones are the old ones we deployed almost a year ago. Originally, we deployed over 300 ships, and now all those 300 have been replaced by the newly built hops ships, which are large transport ships with several industrial TPs that the Intkis and Max built. The lighter yellow lights are hop planet outposts that were set up earlier. If you notice, in some areas there are 2 planets while some only have 1. In the area where there is only 1 hop planet, there would be 2 hop ships. Effectively there are 3 lines, but the planet hops have several TPS, so it's really more. The end result was that we were able to release more than 220 of the original hopline ships and deployed them outward from the sphere into deep space. The red ones are not along the original lines. Ellie noted. That is correct, Ellie. This area is where we met Layla's civilization. This was where the Norset backup planet was found. The 400 hop ships were deployed towards the center here. The center lines are single lines which are more exploratory than useful in traveling, say, from Earth to the Intkis. You can still use these to travel from Earth to the Max, but travel time is at least twice longer. These center lines just go around like this on top and this one around at the bottom, and both does not cover the center much because the area is really large. One line connects them at the center here. The middle hop lines open up the center frontier. There are at least 300,000 exoplanets along these center lines. That's a lot of planets. What did you find? Andrew asked. As you know, the probability of finding intelligent life is very high. In fact, we found 4 planets that had human civilizations here, this one and I think this one. We found 2 Mac planets, 1 Inki and another Norset backup planet. None of the human civilizations has reached the industrial age, the most advanced one was really just medieval. The 2 Mac planets have integrated to the collective and they started planting the nodes. This was where the Max in Layla's planet came from, following a genetic trace the Max did. The Inki planet we found contained very few original Inkis, and it would seem that they were plagued with so many diseases like they were before Rodin integrated them. I reported the Norset back up to Borin and they made contact a week ago, so they are pretty integrated already. The Max believe that there would be more Max, Norset, Inki and humans within the sphere. The area is extremely large however you look at it. Gadden said. What's inside the sphere is not much of a worry for us. What we need to look out for would be the areas beyond the galaxies bounded by the 6 participants if you include the Marantis. Tony said. So, inside the sphere, we just need to explore. Outside we need to worry. Ellie commented. Pretty much. Tony said. I hope Tonin will get more ships from the Morts. He could send us anywhere from 400 to 600 ships. Brad, can you remind Tonin to save each and every Mort ship for us as agreed? Tell him our plans. Andrew said. Timing is very much delayed in this area. The Mort ships will be had after Tonin attacks them, which would be 3 months from now. Add the travel time to deploy these ships beyond the Mac, Inky, and Earth galaxies. And while doing so, we would have to work on converting these ships to hop outpost, outfitting them with guns, new engines, new comms, new cloaks, the works. Roger explained. Ellie added, in the meantime we can make sure that the inside of the sphere is secure for all of the species, as far as we possibly can. It's still a big area. That's correct, Ellie. And we would have to know what's really out there. We need the probes for this job. Andrew agreed. Can we ask the Norsets to increase their production of the probes? Or we can ask the Macs to produce some? Ellie asked. I believe we will see the Norset increase their production because they gave us their allocation. As for the Macs, they are concentrated on creating larger TPs integrating Norset communications technologies. I suppose we can ask some Mac planets to do this. Andrew said. They are still producing the hop ships in Hedad, which is important. We can ask their other planets to produce the probes, but there is a ramp-up time of maybe 6 months before we can see the first probe out of their plants. Gadden said. That is too long. I guess we really just have to rely on them only for those items they are good at. Tony said. I think we should not be too aggressive in setting our timetables. From the science and exploration point of view, there are a lot out there for us, just waiting, and they're not going away. Ellie said. The solution is very simple. We look for civilizations with a lot of spaceships and steal their ships. Roger quipped. If you notice, Roger, the universe is a big place. Tony noted. We cannot behave like pirates. Ellie said. Vicky came out with some tea and coffee. Have you guys eaten breakfast already? All of them told Vicky that they did, and they started to get their tea or coffee. Nice dress, Ellie. Vicky said. Ellie smiled and nodded. Thank you, Vicky. When we get the ships from Tonin, we can do what the Norsets wanted to do, and that is to extend lines outward in various directions. The idea is to provide at least 4 to 6 BLY from the border galaxies to the last hop outpost. Ellie said. That was precisely what I did with the 220 original hop ships. Since they are really Armada ships, they can more or less protect themselves. Brad, can you show the outward boundaries, please? Tony explained. Brad showed 3 holograms, one of the Furlets, the Intkeys, and the Mac. Tony started. I deployed them outward of the Furlet galaxy here and here, at the Intkeys here and here, while at the Macs, I deployed them here and here. There are more than 360,000 exoplanets along the 7 singular hop lines that each extends at least 3 BLY outward. So, the extension hops effectively made the sphere span 10 BLY across? Ellie asked. Andrew commented, that's a good way to use the old hop ships. The extended distance will provide us with an early warning device. With the probes, we can see what's out there at the edge. Vicky gave Andrew a cup of coffee. She got a cup of tea for herself. I just want to point out that we may be spreading out very thinly, and this may bring problems we have not determined. Roger said. I believe while we see the problem areas, there is so much to do with the existing hop ships and their areas of influence. They still need a lot of work. And we need time to know what's inside the sphere. Andrew said. Patience is a Mac virtue. We cannot possibly know what's within the sphere, maybe not even in 1,000 Mac lifetimes. It simply is too big. Gadden said. Did you recon the human planets, Tony? Roger asked. I did a flyby and sent a couple of probes. The humans are in villages, no cities except for one planet which was medieval. Tony said. Why don't we make contact so we can bring them to the fold? Take the Macs from Atbanin, they're industrial, but after bringing them to the collective they chose to go back to the country and help out. Andrew said. If you make contact, you will be able to give them longer lives and the ability to learn more and adapt to the more advanced human society. Vicky commented. Or it could be traumatic, especially in the value system. Ellie said. Why not send a team to study their value systems and see if they would be able to fit in ours? Vicky asked. That's what we are trying to come out with, an action plan to deal with the human planets. Andrew said. The teams would have to dress and behave like the locals, which is hard to do. Maybe we should just send them cloaked so they can observe, say for a few weeks. Roger said. We are doing what the Max did to Earth. Observe for a long time and come out with a plan. The Max would love this job. Ellie said. That sounds good enough for me. We could learn from them. Andrew agreed. Then it's settled, we will send in Max to assess the civilizations and see if we can integrate these people to the human mainstream or some other alternative. I'll see to this myself. Tony said. If you can get their human tissues like blood samples for us to study so we could determine their lineage etc., that would be great. Or maybe beam in one of their recent dead. Vicky said. We can do that. Gadden said. What's the status of the king and the war he wants to go into? Andrew asked. Yes, King Boronadu of Atbanin has recently upped his odds of winning. His plan was to assassinate the top leaders of Rimadansia and Lutenin like in the Godfather movie in one sweep, half of which belong to one extended family, and planting assassins who will admit that they were working for some opposition people or the other country. If he is successful in eliminating the extended family, war will still happen but the resolve would be lowered and the war will not claim a lot of lives. If he fails, his backup plan is to do it again until the family is decimated. The infighting will make them less prepared for war and a handover may be had earlier. In fact, the king plans to participate in the infighting by sending killers to deal with the opposition as well while developing his own people inside government. Tony explained. What if the other countries rally behind the king's enemies and it would be a 2 or even 3 countries against one? Andrew asked. That's not going to happen because one of the countries are run by the king's friends. Besides, the king has a lot more advanced weapons like the tank-like vehicle that can move very fast. This weapons technology is a game changer. Tony answered. It would have been much easier for us to just tag the extended family and their generals and beam them to the king's prisons and plant somebody in their place to ease the transfer like what we did with the Marantais. Roger conjectured. It is in the king's best interest to have the least number of casualties. He will exert a lot of effort to make this happen. Tony said. I remember Sun Tzu wrote that the best thing that can happen in a conflict is to win the war without firing a shot. Maybe a few would be okay. But if we go in, no shot will ever be fired and both sides will not lose a soul. Andrew said. Again, the directives written by Gilkin endorses protection of existing beliefs and culture no matter how wrong or stupid they are and take these in a positive way. That we cannot impose our beliefs on the people we meet unless of course there is a threat to our and our allies' existence or for some dire commercial or military reason. Ellie said. Andrew turned to Ellie. Let's dwell on this, Ellie, for a while for the sake of argument. Why can't we make contact with the king? After all, his beliefs are almost the same as ours. Help him help his planet to succeed. We could make him live much longer than he can imagine and rule his people with the same beliefs longer. We can even, through Dr. Abbottis Millen, give them some technologies to ease the pain, so to speak. Peaceful technologies that will improve food production, communications, energy, and computers. So, he will never know because it would be the doctor and or Millen that will turn the technologies out. Roger noted. Or he could know that we are giving the technology, that we exist, that we are helping him help his people. Would he tell his people that aliens are helping us through the good doctor or Millen? I don't think so. He would play along. Andrew said. Who gets to live long? Gadden asked. The royal family only. Roger answered. And who are we to decide who lives long and who does not? Ellie asked. Let's make them all live long then. But let's give the royal family a head start of say 50 years. We can provide a TP that the royal family and later all the citizens go through that then transports them to a place of worship so they can be thankful to their God for the long life they get. But only the king knows the real deal. Andrew said. I think that our intentions may be good, but I would rather leave them alone. The king may be successful anyway. We can help through Abbottis and Millen with some technologies though. Besides, with Millen now being part of the collective, we have to accept the fact that some technologies will get out so he can benefit his people. We have to ask Millen for some degree of wisdom and control. Tony said. Okay, I will agree with Tony. I also agree that Millen should be told to act responsibly with the technologies. Gadden, you take care of this. Andrew said. I would agree to that. Ellie added. Now that we are clear about those things. What I want to know is, when is your wedding day, Tony? Roger asked. You sounded so serious, Roger, then you unleashed an uppercut. Andrew noted. Tony laughing. Did I really get engaged to wed Layla last night? I was there, Ellie set it up, Roden followed through, even Vicky heard some of it, so you did get engaged. I also agreed for you to use the party place if you want. Andrew said. It was pretty much like Vicky proposing to Sir Andrew, although Layla's statement was more of a declaration than a proposal. Then you agreed and professed your love to each other. Ellie said. Well, it was such a dream to me. Tony said. Now is the time to plan and not dream. Vicky said. That's what I was going to say. I was supposed to be the one saying that. Andrew said. That's exactly what you said when I proposed to you. Vicky said. Everybody laughed. Tony, when you deployed the old hop ships outwards from the Furlets, Inkeys and Max galaxies, did you find anything? Ellie asked. We received our allocation of probes from the Norset only a week ago and I have deployed them at the furthest hop ships. We have 2 lines in the Inkey galaxy, and we only have 360 probes. I allocated 4 per outpost starting from the outermost outpost. I think the reports will start coming in 2 weeks from the outer outposts. Part of the problem is that the Norsets are also installing the long-range communications in the old hop ships and this actually messed things up a bit. Tony explained. The Macs have produced more than 120 ships allocated towards the outer fringes of the Mac galaxies. Did you get those also, Tony? Gadden asked. Not yet, they're en route. They left Hedad 10 days ago and I told them to go to these coordinates. Brad, please show the target areas. Brad showed the Mac galaxies and the target hop points. Tony continued, note that there are no hop planets in these areas for the moment, but work has started along this objective. Roger noted the target hop points is an entirely different line and there is a connection between the first and this second line. That's correct. The Mac allocation of the probes has not arrived. When I tried to look to where to deploy the hop ships, one of the major considerations is the length and direction of the hops. The Inkeys and Macs and even the Norsets are now into building hop outpost ships. In a year there will be around 1,000 more hop outposts from the 3 Earth galaxies will have over 250 of these in allocation. But within the year also, our people shall have established hop points in some planets, not all but enough to free the existing hop lines to other directions. So, the outward singular hops will become planet or moon hops and new singular lines will be created and some move to existing lines extending them further out like what we are doing with the Earth side from the Norset backup planet. Tony explained. Let me run my imagination for a bit here. In a year we will have more hops than we can ever travel to practically in all sorts of directions from several galaxies. I can understand the outpost concept, but if there are thousands of outposts, monitoring them becomes a chore. At the Earth side alone, we will have over 500 hop outposts and within a year establish maybe 200 hop planets or moons. I really do not know how we can ever secure these and even respond to any issue if there are so many. Andrew said. I can imagine the science and work involved in studying just the Earth hop areas would be staggering, bordering on forever. Vicky said. How do we respond if there are several situations in the Earth side areas? Aren't we making our world too big for us? Ellie asked. I have the same thoughts and I told the Inkeys and Max about this and their reaction was that they will deal with the issues when they get to that point. The hops give us a sense of security and it's a long-term high-volume transport infrastructure and that's important at this point. Tony said. Their reaction is consistent with how they run things. The Macs will produce the TPs without consideration if they will ever be used. Now the Inkeys will build ships non-stop until they get lazy again. The Macs will build ships non-stop as well without consideration whether these will ever be used. Both will probably use the new metals from the Norsets and improve the newer versions with engines, telecommunications, and armament, but production will continue, and you can expect this to continue for a very long time. Gadden explained. They do not seem to know what waste means. Ellie noted. If you look at it, the resources are all over the place and the hops will help transport the resources. Roger said. You have to find them first. Which means we have to incorporate mineral scanning capabilities in all our probes. And targeted TP mining capabilities in all our ships. Brad, please take note of this and remind me to tell Gotanen about this. Better yet, tell Gotanen already. Ellie said. Tony, since you are an expert in setting hops up, you better take over the Earthside hops so we can have one cohesive way that the hops are being deployed. Andrew suggested. Funny you should say that. Roden in fact wanted to leave all the hop deployment to me and the Mac Council wanted to play a supporting role and asked what I needed. The Norset are more independent but they already told me that they will follow Roden's lead. So, it's settled then, Tony would be the hop czar. This way we can react to situations without the hops tasks getting in the way. Andrew said. I'd say hail to the Hop King. Roger exclaimed. Ellie laughed. What's so funny, Ellie? Andrew asked. Roger should have said hail to the Hop King and Queen. The group laughed including Tony. Hey, how about lunch in the old world? My treat. Andrew declared. Did you mean Earth? Ellie asked. Yes, Ellie, like this bistro Vicky and I go to where we have never really eaten a complete meal because we were always distracted. So, if we're with all of you, how else can we be distracted? It's almost lunch. Vicky smiled. We did eat one complete meal without distraction. Do they have steak? Roger asked. I believe so. Who wants steak? Raise your hands. All of them raised a hand. There's this nice steakhouse midtown. Wait, it's past midnight in LA. We can go to Sydney in one of the steakhouses I went to with my cousin Martin. So can we go now? Andrew asked. Vicky excused herself to check on Adam, who is being cared for by his Mac nanny, and get her bag before she left. Brad, the steakhouse I went with Martin last week in Sydney. Beam us into the restrooms separately, please. It was lunchtime, and the place was filling. They had to explain how they got past the reception and listing their reservation. The restaurant manager and staff looked at them and figured they were just stupid American tourists, so they were more accommodating than annoyed. How thick is your thickest steak? Andrew asked the waitress. We have 4 and 5 centimeters. That's about 2 inches, sir. Ellie told Andrew. I will have 2 prime ribs and a New York, all medium rare. Andrew said. I will have 1 prime rib and 2 filet mignon, all medium well. Ellie said. I will have the same as Ellie here. Vicky said. I will have 3 prime ribs, all medium rare. Roger said. I will have the same with my friend Roger here. Gadden said. I will have 3 prime and 1 New York, all medium well. Tony said. Tony, that's a lot of steak, don't you think? Andrew asked. Drinks? The waitress asked. We'll pass on the sodas, we're watching our sugar calories. Just give us 2 red wine bottles, please. Vicky said. The waitress looked at them and was a bit puzzled because they do not seem to be overweight and don't look too hungry. People in the restaurant did not notice them until their steaks arrived. This steakhouse has the best steaks in Sydney. I think they age them well. Vicky commented. It's been a while since I ate some really good steak. Ellie said. This is really good steak. Andrew exclaimed. My hats to the chef and to you, Vicky. Roger said. Tony noted. Layla is vegetarian and has never eaten animal meat. Well, it's not too late to learn, Tony. Consider this your last great steak meal. I thought you meant that Layla would be doing the learning. Vicky said, and they both laughed. They quietly ate their steaks and drank the wine. Vicky ordered another bottle midway through the meal. We do not have a steakhouse like this good in Planet Los Angeles. Andrew said. He was looking at an elderly couple behind the counter. Are you thinking of recruiting the owners, sir? Ellie asked. Yes, but I don't think they would be interested. Andrew said. You are so pessimistic. I'll talk to them. Vicky said. Vicky went to the ladies' room and when she got out went straight to talk to the old couple. She has her back towards them, and they are all still too busy with finishing their steak to even notice how Vicky was talking to the old couple. After a while she got back and sat down. They have agreed to put up a restaurant branch on Planet Los Angeles. I told them to call the young couple you met in San Francisco who does the recruiting of old people at their earliest convenience. I told them the couple will come over and tour them around. Vicky said. I don't know how you did it. But if they will do it I don't really care. Andrew said. Thanks, Vicky, now we can have steaks whenever we want to. Roger said. When they were all finished Vicky went over to pay and when she got back, she was carrying 2 large paper bags. What are those? Andrew asked. Steaks, of course. I have 5 packs of what you ordered, uncooked, of course. You can enjoy this later in your missions. When they got back to Vicky's house on Planet Los Angeles, they got their share of the steaks and left. Ellie went to her parents. Andrew and Vicky spent the late afternoon and night just being together. The next day Andrew went back through the hops to his ship. The hop outposts were preparing to move as soon as the 45 outpost ships started to arrive. Olive, can you tell all the ships that I would like to recon the hop line then the other hop line? GX1 and up to 12 ships including us, the rest stay here and secure the area. We leave in an hour. Andrew said. Ellie, Roger, and Gadden beamed to Andrew's bridge. Where are we going, General? Ellie asked. Nowhere, just fly recon along the proposed hop line that way and coming back we fly along the other hop line. Why, Ellie? Roger asked. Well, we recently produced these probes that acts as long-range relays. We added long-range repeaters into these probes so that if we leave them in one place, they can retransmit signals within their range or onto the next probe like telephone repeaters, only this time you are talking about 400 to 500 MLY apart. This way, as we travel long distances like this joy ride, we leave one every 400 MLY, so even if we are 3 BLY away, we are still connected to the network. You can call the Norsets or Rodin. Ellie said. What's the hitch? Andrew asked. What hitch? Ellie asked confused. There's always a hitch, like it does not transmit holographs or something. Andrew said. It can transmit holographic images. It can scan within 10 MLY. It can connect to a ship? It has its own power, pretty much like our regular probes but suited for telecommunications purposes. Ellie said. Don't worry, General, I will find a hitch and you can bet on it. Roger saluted sharply and Andrew saluted back. Carry on. Ellie is used to this clowning around. I am sure the things we come out are not perfect, but we try to respond to whatever we need or foresee to need. My people are really busy doing all sorts of things. The Norset team is almost getting a breakthrough with the Firedon as an energy source. Our chemistry group are trying out a process to use existing metals to blend with the Norset metal to come out with a cheaper but less strong general-purpose metal. We just finished with the new mineral scan equipment, and we will be installing these in 2 days into all the ships. The list goes on. Well, my people are really busy too, training in all sorts of combat scenarios. In fact, the Norsets, I can say with certainty, can tag and hack into systems as good as the Max and Marines. They are also very good at targeting and firing. Roger said. A few days later. Olive, final call. We leave on schedule. Andrew said. They traced the first hopline moving at moderate speed while scanning their immediate vicinity, which is at least 100 mly. After 2 days they leave one probe. They did this every 400 mly, and after 12 more days they started heading for the end of the other hopline, which is 2 bly away. After 6 days they encountered a small ship moving across their direction 50 mly away. Andrew finds Ellie, Roger, and Gadden in his bridge. What, may I ask, did I do to deserve your presence? If you had not noticed, there's a small ship flying across us at less than 2% our speed. Gadden said. Alan told me he encounters this type of situations all the time, and he told me not to concern myself with passers-by. Andrew said. I like to watch, Roger said. We might learn something. Ellie just said the magic words. Okay, dispatch the taggers and hackers. But let's keep our distance, say 10 mly. I don't want to be too close to the TV. I will dispatch the Norsets on this mission. Roger said. Are you sure that they are up to the task? Gadden asked. Yes, but a little less than 100% yes. Roger answered. Okay, send the Norsets out. I just hope they do not mess up. Andrew said. Andrew, the Norset and Max are currently studying their language. I think they can provide a translator program in a few minutes for me. Olive said. Olive, I thought you can do this yourself? Andrew asked. They think better. This answer perplexed Andrew. The Norsets have set up the videos. Ellie said. Wow, nice uniforms. They look like Bofang's but smaller, shorter arms and legs, with 4 fingers and no equipment adapter fingers. And they even wear hats inside a ship. Who does that? Gadden asked. I think the hats are worn by the male while the females do not have hats. Ellie said. I can't even tell which one is a male or a female. Roger countered. The females have softer features while the males are more rugged looking. Ellie explained. Or it could be the other way around. Andrew countered. You may be all wrong, maybe they have no gender. Gadden declared. They looked at each other. Olive, how many of these male-females are in the ship? Andrew asked. The ship has 1,152 personnel. They have 5 smaller attack ships and 3 large transport ships in a small hangar bay. I think we should have nicer uniforms, casuals and semi-formal wear, and not rely on our blues and greens. And our body armor is a drab black or whatever, but it's not like you can wear the armor out. We are all used to covering the armor with regular clothes. Look at that, the combination of dark blue and green with white accents and red flaps. They are better than the designs of Dr. Burgos. Ellie said. That's what you get when you let a doctor design clothes. Andrew said. They must come from a highly civil and formal society. Gadden said. Olive continued, the teams have uploaded the language translators. You will hear them speak in English in a few moments. What are these creatures? I have never encountered these in our collective. Gadden said. Olive answered, the Norsets are downloading their information and trying to translate them into something I and we can understand. It will take a few moments. May I say, Andrew, that the Norsets are born hackers. While the Max are good spies, the Norsets' realm is information. The Norset leader told me that they have tagged everybody on board. That was fast considering the small ship. Andrew said. I told you they're good. Roger said. They call themselves Listons from a planet called Liston. Olive, even I can figure where they came from. Listons come from Liston while Earthlings come from Earth. Liston is 750 mly from our first encounter. This ship is a military ship. Highly armed with jet-propelled explosives. They use radio waves to communicate and scan things around. The propulsion system is ion and they have a nuclear power source. Their strongest weapons are rockets with nuclear heads. I have translated a good-size vocabulary. Olive explained. Can they scan us, Olive? Andrew asked. No, the waves go through us, Andrew.